What is up, everybody? Welcome back again to another episode of Say What? Barstool Parlay. Thanks for coming back, guys. As always, make sure to share, like, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you guys know when we have content coming out. As always, raw takes, no apologies. And I know some of you are going to be upset, so let's get into it. What the Bears should do in Caleb Williams being a bust? Yep, that's right. I said it. Caleb Williams has bust written all over him. 100%. And I've dived into this before around college playoff time, talking about the evaluation of some of these quarterbacks that were going to be coming out. And I know all you guys are going to be sitting there in the comments blowing everything up about this and that and the evaluation of quarterbacks and blah 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 and what my credentials are and this. I'm already aware. One, I've played quarterback. I played at a semi-pro level. I understand quarterbacks. I understand coverages. I coached football. So you can say what you want about my evaluation, but I'm just going to be completely honest. And if you guys don't believe me, go listen to Merrill Hodges, who's been a long-time draft analyst, who has nailed it on the head with a lot of these quarterbacks. A lot of them. I was a huge Johnny Manziel fan coming out of the draft. And I was hoping that the off-the-field stuff wouldn't be the downfall of his coming into the draft, because the athletic tools, the ability to throw the ball, it was all there. It was just a matter of, could he be mature enough to be a franchise quarterback at that level? And I thought that a lot of, despite Johnny's physical skill set, a lot of it was going to be coming down to the situation that he went in or went to. And with Cleveland, it was the worst possible situation for him to go to. They didn't have an organization structured to handle somebody like him. He wasn't ready to be a pro. And Merrill Hodges called that off the jump. Merrill Hodges was not super impressed with Johnny Manziel. He wasn't super impressed with Jameis Winston. He hasn't been super impressed with a lot of these guys that everybody are, oh, they're consensus number one picks. Oh, they're fantastic. And he evaluated Caleb very similar to the way that I evaluate him. He said, and quote, I've watched about 3 games. I haven't got all the way through it, but even this early in, it's very clear to me the kid's not special. Everybody wants him to be Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not special. And that's what I've said with Caleb a lot coming into this. And with Caleb, here's my thing with Caleb. He does not process well. And Merrill Hodges talked about this in the herd. He passes on layups. When the slant's there, he doesn't take it. He wants to hold onto the ball, scramble around, try to look for a deep shot. He doesn't take what's there. In the NFL, you have to take what's there. The problem with Caleb is not his physical skill set. He's got a big arm. He can throw the ball. The problem with Caleb is he doesn't process well upstairs. He doesn't read coverages. He doesn't understand coverages. He doesn't read coverages. And he's so athletically gifted that he runs around, makes plays, scrambles around, and is always looking for the breakdown backyard play. You have to play within a structure. You have to play within the system in the NFL. And so far in college, we have not seen Caleb be able to do that. And for me, everybody tries to make the evaluation of quarterbacks so difficult, and oh, it's so hard to figure out who's going to be good and who's not. It's really not that hard, guys. It's really, really not. You watch guys, like I watched Joe Burrow, they make one throw. I watched one throw in the national championship game from Joe Burrow, said, that guy's got it. He's going to be special. That throw's too good. It's impossible for a guy who can make that throw to be bad. And a lot of times it's really that simple. It's really that simple. And for me, one of the main things that I look at when I talk about that one throw with quarterbacks is, like I've seen this with Bo Nix. I'm very, very high on Bo Nix. I think he's going to be excellent. He's one of the older guys to me we're talking about, he's not a running back, he's not a receiver. Guys that are, they're older quarterbacks, this and that. quarterback's a position they play for 20 years. I'm not worried about he's an extra 2 or 3 years older than somebody. These guys play for 20 years. So Bo Nix, he's a grown-up. He's mature. He's started. He's seen a lot of coverage. He's played in different systems. He is the most NFL ready in this draft, 100%. It's not arguable. And even other guys have said that maybe he doesn't have the highest ceiling from all these guys, but he is the most ready day one starter to come in. I would 100% agree with that. Now, going back to Caleb, that's the problem with Caleb, is he has a lot of the Johnny Manziel traits with his play style, as far as running around, throwing off platform, all this backyard football. And a large majority of that stuff doesn't translate to the NFL. It just doesn't. Now, obviously, we see guys like Patrick Mahomes who are able to create and do things off script and off platform. And yes, you can do that stuff, but we've seen the evolution of Patrick Mahomes. This year, we really saw the evolution of Mahomes, of not having the receiving cores, not having those deep shots to Tyreek Hill, and not doing all the wow stuff that we're used to seeing from Patrick. But to me, this was one of Patrick's best years, because Patrick was able to turn into Tom Brady and play on time, play on schedule, play on script. If they're going to give me these dump offs, just like in the Super Bowl, Isaiah Pacheco might have been their leading receiver. I mean, he was definitely one of them. I mean, it was dump off after dump off after dump off. Patrick's like, you're going to keep giving me 6-7 yards a clip on these swing routes. I'm going to keep taking them. And we saw that evolution of him taking his first read and taking what's there, not looking for the deep shots and not trying to do too much and play hero ball, which is what we see with Caleb Williams. And all that running around and making guys miss and all that stuff doesn't translate at a high level to the NFL. Because right now, Caleb Williams is one of the most athletic guys in the field. He's not going to be one of the most athletic guys on the field in the NFL. And that's even what I said with Johnny Manziel. The physical tools were there, but I loved him as a prospect. But like I said, coming in with him as a prospect, he is a developmental project. Same as Josh Allen, same as the rest of these guys. When they come in and they do a lot of stuff athletically, they have to figure out, they have to adjust to the speed of the game in the NFL. And that sack that I was able to get out of and hold on to the ball and get away and make some phenomenal play in college, I can't do that in the NFL. I'm not getting out of that sack. I'm not making that defensive end miss. I can't run away from this guy. He's tracking me down. Guys like athletic freaks like Micah Parsons. Caleb Williams is not going to be able to run out of the pocket and scramble around and outrun Micah Parsons. Micah's going to track him down. He's no longer the most athletic guy in the field. All those plays to be able to figure out, these are the times that I can scramble. These are the times that I can't. This is when I need to get rid of the ball. These are the times I can try to do the Patrick Mahomes type things and play off script. That's a transition for guys like Caleb. 90% of the stuff that he does that makes us say, wow, that makes us say he's going to be a number one pick, that's all stuff that he's never going to do in the NFL. Those are all plays that are never going to happen in the NFL. Because those are guys who aren't going to miss tackles. They're not going to let him get out of that sack. He's not going to be able to run away from that defensive end or that blitzing linebacker. And he has to be able to play from the pocket. And my thing with Caleb is, you look at it, my two biggest things. One, like I said, is performance and his game translating. My biggest concern is this. He played one top 10 defense his entire career. One. It was Notre Dame. The dude threw 3 interceptions and they got blown out on their way to what everybody thought was going to be a walk to an undefeated or one-loss record and a playoff berth. They got destroyed in South Bend by Al Golden, a former NFL defensive coordinator, who, yes, does some NFL-esque things in his defense. But remember, guys, these kids are only here sometimes for 2 years, 3 years. They don't have time to do a lot of real creative installs and real creative defensive disguises and stuff, because they don't have the kids that long to be able to have really complex schemes for the kids. They're not going to understand it by the time they leave. So this was a very, yes, there's some NFL twists and and things to it. Al Golden's very, very good. I love the fact that he's Notre Dame's DC. But compared to what he's going to see in the NFL, it was a very vanilla scheme. It's very vanilla coverage compared to what he's going to see in the NFL. And just the little minor tweaks that Al Golden puts in with the caliber of players that Notre Dame had. Cam Hart, who's looking like he's the top corner prospect, and J.D. Bertrand, the captain of that defense, and those NFL guys on that defense. Threw 3 picks. 3 picks, guys. Played one good defense and one good, really good defensive coordinator. He threw 3 interceptions and they got blasted. I mean, how can you watch that game? And then they continued to lose 4 straight, and he didn't particularly play well the rest of the year. He lost some shootouts, but there's plenty of games he continued not to really play well. That's the problem, is we look at Caleb Williams and we go, oh my gosh, USC, in week 2 they played South San Diego State, who's barely Division I, and they won 55-3. And Caleb had 5 touchdown passes and threw for 380 yards. And why do I care about Caleb Williams throwing touchdowns against South San Diego State or North Dakota Institute of Technology or the rest of the atrocious Pac-12 and their atrocious defenses? Why does that impress me? The problem with Caleb is there's no growth. The same guy who made mistakes and didn't look like he was real great at reading coverages and all the things that we saw his first year starting at Oklahoma, all the little issues that we saw, there's no growth. He never improved. It's all the same issues. He's just athletically talented. It's the Johnny Manziel effect. He's so talented compared to everybody else that he looks like he's this generational, game-changing player. No, it's just because he's fast enough to outrun the guys chasing him. It's because he does have the ability to throw off platform and make some tough throws off platform. But if you watch a lot, and I'm not saying he doesn't have any good throws, so don't get me wrong, but when you watch all these draft highlights, most of them are wide open throws. They're wide open. He scrambles, he gets away, and then it's a wide open backyard football play. Why is that impressive to me? Because all that scrambling around isn't going to translate. He's going to have to sit in the pocket and read coverage. And when he had to sit in the pocket and read coverage against Notre Dame, we saw what happened. It was a disaster. The guy doesn't throw, that slant's wide open, and he passes on it. And intentionally tries to extend plays and make guys miss, and intentionally try to scramble around and throw off platform. He does it intentionally. Instead of taking the first down dig route, he says, nope, I'm going to pass on that wide open first down, and I'm going to scramble around because I know I'm athletic enough to make guys miss. So at that point, I'm going to scramble around. And then, since I'm scrambling around, then hopefully one of my guys will break off a route and find somebody wide open. That's not NFL, guys. So there are problems with his game. Now, the other side of this is Caleb the person. A guy like Caleb Williams is not somebody that I want running my franchise. I mean, the guy literally said he doesn't want to go to Chicago multiple times pre-draft. He was going to stay in USC unless Chicago traded the pick. And now he wanted ownership in the team, and he doesn't have an agent because his dad interviewed agents, and if they couldn't find a way around the bargaining agreement, getting him like a Mahomesian contract that's outside of the rules, because they basically have it set. The first round pick makes this, or the first overall pick makes this, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and all the dollar amounts and values are essentially already set. And then it was, well, we don't want that. We believe he should be able to get paid more than anybody else who's ever come out of the college. And if you can't find a way to circumvent this new rule and get him a completely custom contract that's against the rules, we won't hire you. So now he doesn't have an agent. His ego is far beyond his skill set, and he's setting himself up for expectations that he can never live up to. That's the problem with Caleb Williams. Not to mention the fact that he's played it beautifully of the scapegoat of, well, my dad's saying all these things. It's not me. So then when there's teams that he actually wants to go to, like potentially Washington with Kingsbury, his former offensive coordinator, it's, oh, listen, guys, I never said any of this stuff. My dad's just, he's my dad and he's out of control and he's talking about stuff. That's not me. I never said any of that. It's the perfect scapegoat. It's the perfect plausible deniability. But in reality, like we always talk about with athletes, and we talked about this with the Dak Prescott comments in the offseason. If your family is saying something, even if you're not saying it, one, it means you probably did say it, and that's where they're getting it from. Or in Caleb's case, you probably do want those things. That's why your dad's petitioning for them. But on the other side, if you don't agree with what they're saying, and you don't publicly come out and shut it down, or you don't tell them to shut their mouth, the only reason you allow them to keep going is because you agree with what they're saying, or you told them to say it. Either way, you're either allowing it to happen or you're condoning it. It's one of the two. Either way, that's a huge concern for me. That's a huge red flag, because this whole ego of I'm the best in the world, one, players on other teams, he's going to have target on his back. That's number one. Rookie year is going to be even harder than it should be because he's going to be targeted by people. And you think the NFL teams who do have complicated schemes and all this stuff aren't watching the film of going, this kid can't read coverage. This kid can't process what's going on. This kid won't take layups. All we got to do is put him under pressure and make sure we don't hang up anything on the back end, and he'll just hold the ball all day till our guys get there. You think they're not understanding that they can pressure him, they can disguise coverage, they can trick him, they can make it hard, and the guys on the field are like, man, I'm gonna eat this kid alive. We saw Justin Fields go through that. It's easier than I thought it was going to be. And then the next couple games, he got the crap beat out of him because guys put targets on his back. And they're like, oh, you think it's easy? All right, watch this, kid. And that's the mentality he's going to have to face. And that's a huge problem. And now let's talk about this. So that's my main problems with Caleb. It's his unrealistic expectations, his ego. How is he going to get along in a veteran locker room with guys who are real NFL players who have had success in this league, and he's coming in and going, man, I'm better than all y'all. Man, I don't even want to be here. How do you think that's going to play out? Not well. Now let's talk about this from the Bears' perspective quickly, and it shouldn't take long to break down the Bears' perspective because it's very, very simplistic. If you're the Bears, I would run like the Black Plague from taking Caleb Williams number 1 overall. 1, because of all the concerns with Caleb that I just mentioned. 2, because I don't think he's the best quarterback in this draft, and I don't think he's the best NFL ready, and he has issues that may or may not be able to be fixed, like reading coverage, processing things quickly, not being able to adapt his game of he can't run around as much as he used to and having to play from the pocket. Those are all things that may not ever be able to get fixed. Maybe he can fix them, maybe he can't. But I'm not taking a guy with those issues number 1 overall. I'm not doing it. Now, on the other side, from the Bears' perspective, it's also the fact of, why do I want a guy who doesn't want to be there? Now, as Caleb has tried to over-leverage himself going into this entire draft process and realized that he has no leverage and he can't get the contract that he wants and he can't get ownership stake in the team that drafts him and he can't control whether the Bears are going to trade their pick or not, he's now started to lean off some of his comments and some of his dad's comments. Oh, well, I'd be willing to go to the Bears. I'm not going to not show up, or I'm not going to demand to get traded if they draft me. But he has still continued to make it very, very clear that he doesn't want to go to Chicago. He doesn't want that. He's made it very clear. And regardless of what you think about Caleb Williams, here is the thing for Chicago. that makes this a very, very simple decision. You trade out of the number 1 pick. It then allows you to trade back in the draft, potentially to 2 or 3, with one of those teams who also want a quarterback. You can say, hey, this developmental project, he's your problem. You can trade out of that pick, couple Marvin Harrison Jr. with DJ Moore, give your next quarterback some real weapons. You still have to trade Justin Fields because you do need to reset your quarterback clock. You might be able to get another first-round pick for Fields, if not a high second-round pick. But now people are saying that it's trending, probably you're going to be able to get a first-round pick for Fields. So now you can end up with multiple picks, multiple first-round picks in this draft. And then you can trade back. And if you can get 2 first-round picks this year, and even if you can't, it's still fine. But you can trade back, end up with multiple first-round picks this year, get the other wide receiver that you need, get the left tackle that you need, and if you can trade back into the first round later down the draft, somewhere between 8 and 12, Bo Nix is going to be sitting there, who, like I said, I believe is the best pro-ready quarterback in this draft. And you're going to be sunshine and rainbows. You're going to end up with a guy who's more ready to play right now than Caleb Williams. And you get Bo Nix, Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, or the other left tackle. Fix your left tackle problem. You solve 3 problems. 3 by trading out of that pick. You get 3 starters by trading out of that pick. 3. Versus 1 Caleb Williams and potentially 1 other player. And like I said, depending on the haul that you get for this draft, you might end up with 4 first-round picks in this draft. Talk about jump-starting the rebuild for your team. Quarterback is not the only thing that Chicago needs. They need defensive pieces. They need wide receivers. They need offensive line help. They need linebackers. They need defensive line help to go along with the trade they made for Sweat. There's a lot of things that the Bears need. Caleb Williams is not going to solve all their problems. Even, and like I said, this is regardless of what you think of Caleb Williams as a prospect. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft. And even the late round guys are pretty good. There's a lot of quarterback talent. You don't have to sell your soul for Caleb Williams. And I'm tired of hearing all this, oh, he's a consensus number 1. He's a surefire, can't miss prospect. They said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. Remember? Oh, surefire, can't miss. And Trevor's okay. But he's not the greatest prospect we've seen since John Elway that they built him up to be. Trevor's just, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's not what they built him up to be. And I said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. I had questions about Trevor Lawrence. I had questions about how their team didn't have the level of success that everybody thought they were going to have when he came back. And I said the same thing, and I was pretty damn accurate. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. Wasn't going to be a bust. He had talent, had potential, but he wasn't going to be the life-changing Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers quarterback that everybody thought he was going to be. And maybe he'll continue to improve and get better. But like I said, coming out, this was what I expected. He'll just be pretty good. He'll just be pretty good. And so far, what has he been? He's just been pretty good. So, like I said, I don't buy into the Caleb Williams hype train. I think Caleb has the potential to be a developmental project, and maybe like Josh Allen, 3 or 4 years down the road, maybe he'll be something, but he is not going to come in and take over the league. He is not going to come in and be this surefire starter like Patrick Mahomes. And even Patrick Mahomes had issues coming out of the draft, had issues coming out of Texas Tech. And go back and watch the film, guys. Patrick Mahomes was a far better prospect on tape than Caleb Williams. and he sat for a year behind Alex Smith and learned how to play in the NFL and learned how to adapt his game and what he could do and what parts of his game he had to scrap in the NFL. And he had a year to figure all that stuff out. He didn't get thrown into the fire. Caleb Williams is going to get thrown into the fire, and who knows how long it's going to take him to figure out. Like Josh Allen, it took Josh Allen finally getting day ball and years of experience to really figure it out and become Josh Allen. And even then, the turnovers are still a problem. A lot of the same stuff for Josh Allen is still a problem. But Josh Allen's good. And maybe Caleb could become a Josh Allen someday. But it's not going to be tomorrow. It's not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. It's going to be years of development as a player. And if you're Chicago, I don't want to waste this opportunity with the first round pick to get a guy who's a developmental piece. And if you're Chicago, have the balls. Everybody gave you hell for not taking Bryce Young. How's that look? Another one, Bryce Young. I said coming out. There's nothing about Bryce Young at Alabama that wowed me. Nothing. I watched Bryce Young a lot at Alabama, and I said, just a guy. Everybody, oh, look at that throw. I'm like, that's a wide open receiver. Not impressive. He's just a guy. Not a lot of wow there with Bryce Young. Not a lot. And one thing we know about Frank Reich can dial up plays. Frank Reich can call plays. So they can talk about the new coaching staff and all this stuff for Bryce Young, and maybe he'll be better with a different coaching staff. Maybe he will. But I don't have a lot of confidence moving forward after seeing what happened with Frank Reich dialing up the plays. And that's one thing we know he can do is call plays. So that's what I'm saying, guys. All these prospects, they're surefire, can't miss. This guy's great, that guy. It's not hard to evaluate quarterbacks, guys. You look at one throw, and a lot of the throws that wow you, because that's the stuff that translates in the NFL. That's the stuff that's going to give you consistent success at the NFL level. Anticipation throws. Like Troy Aikman said, in college, everybody's open. In the NFL, nobody's open. You have to throw people open. You have to understand the coverage and the leverage on the coverage and be able to say, when this guy makes his break, I'm going to throw the ball into this spot and make him go get it. I have to throw him to run him into open space. I have to throw it to run him into open space. I can't wait till he makes his break. I can't wait till the guy gets open. I have to throw it and trust that he's going to run to that space and get open. And that's what, like I said, with Bo Nix, that's the wow throws that I see a lot with Bo Nix is, Bo Nix is really athletic and he can move around too. So if you're Chicago, once again, you're not losing all the athletic stuff. He's very athletic. And he makes throws before guys make cut. He throws the ball to spots and he throws guys open. He throws the ball in spots where the guy looks and the ball's in the air and the guy has to go chase the ball and he's putting the ball in a spot to get the guy open, to force him to run away from coverage and leverage. That's the stuff you see. You go, wow, that's a great throw. And I've said this before, Michael Penix, what I saw in the national championship, it was such a mismatch. I don't hold it a lot against him between Michigan and Washington's offensive line. Penix got the hell beat out of him. But that is a concern. Maybe he doesn't play that well against pressure. But consistently throughout the year when he did get pressured, we saw him make a lot of great throws. And I'm not going to take one bad game and throw out a whole season that I saw from Michael Penix. Against good competition, Michael Penix has the most arm talent in this draft. By far the most arm talent in this draft. Talk about throwing off platform and off balance and making every throw. That guy's got it. And like I said, I think Bo Nix is just a little bit better overall as a quarterback. Little bit better processor, a little bit better on anticipation throws than Michael, but Michael's got all the physical arm talent to be extremely successful in this draft. And if you're Chicago, Michael Penix or Bo Nix sitting there later in the first round would be an absolute home run if you're Chicago. The only thing that scares me about Penix is the medical. And that's why I have Bo Nix just a touch above him. I like a little bit more of the coverage reading from Bo Nix, and I love the medical. He's never really had a bunch of crazy injuries that have held him out. Penix's medical, it scares me a little bit. But he's very, very talented. And Like I said, guys, if you're the Bears, it's a very, very simple process. And you guys can argue with me all you want. If you would rather have Caleb Williams with a bunch of red flags, personality flags, ego flags, and flags in his game, and try to force him to play someplace that he doesn't want to play, Chicago be, he's got to take Williams. Why in the hell do you want a guy who doesn't want to be there? Why do you want a guy, if you're Chicago, why do I want to force a guy to play for me? Why do I want to take a guy and make him play in Chicago where at the end of the year, he's just going to be bound, determined, and demand a trade 2 years from now and not want to be there, or maybe demand a trade immediately? He said he's not going to do that, but who knows? He changes his story every 3 days. And literally, he just said the newest comment from an interview at the Combine. Who wants to play in cold-ass Chicago? Las Vegas, come up and get me. I'm worth it. Why do you want that guy? He doesn't want to play for you. And every time they ask him about Chicago, even when he backs off, he goes, yeah, if Chicago drafts me, they can do whatever they want. If they draft me, it is what it is. And then immediately talks about, how fun it might be to get back with Kingsbury and Washington. And he wants to go to Washington or Vegas. He doesn't want to go to Chicago. So if he doesn't want to go there, why are you forcing him to go there? I mean, we've seen this before, guys. You're not going to get screwed just because you don't want Caleb Williams. We've seen it before. Eli Manning did not want to go to San Diego. So San Diego drafted him and traded him to the Giants, and the Giants drafted Rivers and traded him to San Diego. Worked out pretty good for both teams, huh? 2 borderline Hall of Fame quarterbacks. There's other guys that you can be successful with outside of Caleb Williams. And the compensation and the opportunity here to recoup from a guy who doesn't want to be on your team, it's a no-brainer. Teams are drooling over Caleb Williams because they want to ignore all the things that I've pointed out, and you don't want to take my word for it. Merrill Hodges said the same thing. The kid's not special, and he has trouble processing throws, and he runs around too much, and there's a lot of his game that's not going to translate. And we saw him struggle against good defenses and schemes like Notre Dame. Merrill Hodges is saying the same thing as me, guys. Don't take my word for it. If you don't trust me or my credentials or my evaluation of quarterbacks, being a former quarterback and a coach, so be it. Merrill Hodges has been nailing quarterbacks in the draft for 20 years. Take his word for it. He's saying the same thing. And when you got a guy who everybody's drooling over, ignoring all the red flags, don't waste the opportunity. Pull the wool over somebody's eyes. Let them go up and get Caleb. He's their problem. And for you, even if Caleb is as great as everybody says he is, there's more quarterbacks that are going to be great. People find them every year. People find guys that they're successful with every year. Every single year, people find guys. Go trade the pick and get what you actually need. You're better off with Marvin Harrison Jr., a left tackle, and Bo Nix or Michael Penix. Like I said, I favor Bo Nix, but you're better with Bo Nix, Marvin Harrison Jr., and a left tackle, and potentially another first-round player, and another early second-round pick, and maybe a player thrown in the draft. I mean, you're going to get a haul for this guy. And if you got the potential to get a starter from another team, multiple first-round picks in this draft, and a franchise quarterback still, and possibly another first-round pick, or a high second-round pick, or multiple picks, by trading Justin Fields as well to reset that quarterback clock, and you don't do it, you're an idiot if you're Chicago, and you're an idiot if you're Poles. And so far, Ryan Poles has done a fantastic job getting in the position to accumulate all these picks and be able to really jumpstart your team with an accumulation of picks that we've almost never seen. If you trade this pick, you can accumulate so many draft picks. I mean, you'll have one of the most phenomenal young rosters in the league if you don't misfire on all these picks. This is a no-brainer. An absolute no-brainer to end up with the potential to possibly have, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, potential of somewhere between 10 and 15 top 100 picks by making this move. 10 to 15 top 100 picks over the next 2 years, and you still get a franchise quarterback in Bo Nix. Take Jaden Daniels. Do not take Drake May. Drake May is the biggest hit. He is bust central. Drake May is not going to work. And Merrill Hodge 100% says the same thing. The guy's wildly inaccurate. He struggles under pressure. And the whole thing of teams not winning is a stat. When you got fantastic quarterbacks, winning is a stat. And when guys lose, it's usually because, it's a shootout and he played well and the defense is bad. North Carolina is a pretty good team across the board. Winning's a stat. And Drake May, they regressed completely as a team because of his performance and his play. They were in a lot of games that he lost for them. So, do not take Drake May. But if you like Jaden Daniels, you like Bo Nix, you like Michael Penix, even McCarthy. I don't like McCarthy. I think McCarthy is probably going to end up just being some developmental. Yeah, maybe he could be an average starter somewhere at some point in his career, but I view him as pretty much a career backup. But at the same point, if you like one of these guys outside of Caleb Williams or Drake May, go get him. It's not the end-all, be-all for Caleb Williams. And you guys are telling me you'd rather have Caleb Williams and a crap roster than a guy like Bo Nix who's going to be good. Trust me, he's going to be good. You'd rather have Caleb Williams and a crap roster than a guy like Bo Nix and 15 top 100 picks in the next 2 years? Because I'll take Bo Nix and 15 top 100 picks. Have 8 or 9 first-round picks in the next 2 years and another 4 or 5 second-round picks. Yeah, I'll take that. Plus the picks that I already got. Who knows how many picks? With the offers. But yeah, I'll take that scenario. A bona fide first-round franchise starter and 15 first-round picks versus, or 15 to 20 top 100 picks versus one Caleb Williams and a crap roster. It's a no-brainer, guys. It's an absolute no-brainer. And if Poles passes on him and does this, it's going to be, all you Bears fans are going to be pissed off. And in reality, you should be worshiping Ryan Poles for accumulating these draft picks and playing the pick game so beautifully. Just beautifully playing the pick game. Accumulating these picks. For a guy who doesn't want to play for you. That's the big thing. It's not like Caleb's beating down the door saying, I'd love to play in Chicago. If the Bears draft me, I'll be ecstatic. The guy said, I'll go back to USC unless the Bears assure me they're trading the pick. The guy hates you. You guys are banging down the door telling Ryan Poles he needs to be fired unless he drafts a guy who hates all of you and hates the city and hates the team. If the guy really doesn't want to go there, accept the fact that he doesn't want to play for you and move on to somebody who's just as talented, who will be grateful to play for you and will have more success in his career probably in Bo Nix. And you can get him for a steal late in the first round and really grab some talented guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. along the way as you're waiting to go get him. Come on, guys. This is a no-brainer. You gonna force the guy to play for him? No, make the smart play like San Diego. Go get another franchise quarterback. Go get another guy that you like. Go find your Phillip Rivers and trade the Eli Manning who doesn't want to play for you. We have precedent to do this, and it worked out for both teams. And we have quarterbacks available in this draft that will be just fine. And you will love to have if you're Chicago. Make the smart play. Don't force a guy to play for you who doesn't want to be there. Take the haul of the century to trade out and let him be somebody else's problem, and take the haul of the century to do it and grab all these players and really jumpstart your rebuild in the process. Trading Caleb Williams as the number 1 overall pick is the opportunity for the Bears to jumpstart a Super Bowl run. To jumpstart within the next 2 years having an ironclad Super Bowl caliber roster. You are not going to, you may not even make the playoffs with Caleb Williams in the next 2 or 3 years. You have to have other players and pieces. And this is your opportunity to build that roster around a young quarterback like a Bo Nix and get a haul to do it and have an ironclad Super Bowl competitive roster. Absolutely. It's a no-brainer, guys. It's an absolute no-brainer. Do not force the kid to play for you. There's enough red flags. Nobody would blame you. Well, dumb people would, but smart people like Merrill Hodge, myself, nobody would blame you if you didn't like what you saw on tape and decided to hoodwink somebody else to go take him and get a haul in the process. Nobody would blame you. And it'd be a fantastic move by your organization, and it'd be smart. Don't force the kid to play for you who has enough red flags, let alone the fact that he doesn't want to be there. Trade him. Go find your Phillip Rivers. Trade this Eli Manning. Go find your Phillip Rivers. And you'll be far better off, Chicago. I promise you. The kid has physical tools, but he has bust written all over him. He has overhyped written all over him. He has shockingly average written all over him. Go find your Phillip Rivers. Trade this Eli Manning. And get yours and build a Super Bowl caliber roster along the way. That's how you play this. As always, guys, raw takes, no apologies. Tell me what you guys think in the comment. And as always, let us know what you want us to make videos about. You never know. Your next comment may be our next Barstool Parlay. Peace out, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Until next time.